I'd like to call the regular meeting of the City Council August 1st to order. May we please have the roll call?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Fish.
Here.
Councilmember Yu.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mann.
Here.
Mayor Sternquist.
Here. We move to item 3, the invocation. Is Father Nick here? Yes. Welcome. Father Nick, is it Asi? Asi, with St. Luke's Catholic Church at 5605 Cloverleaf, will provide the invocation. Will you please stand and join us?
God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city, Temple City. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. And finally, Father, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of the human person. We as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and in your love. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Father.
God bless you. Yeah, okay.
Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And this evening, we have Troop 174, and the members that are here this evening from the troop are Alvin Zhao, Stephen Salas, and Jordan Mendoza. Gentlemen?
Detail, forward march. Detail, halt. Post.
For those that are not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Scout salute. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two.
Detail, about face. Detail, forward march. Detail, halt. Audience, please be seated.
Thank you, gentlemen. We move to item 5, ceremonial presentations, and we have Josie. Say it again. Gosha with the San Gabriel Valley Humane Society, and she will be presenting the Pet of the Month.
So cute. Dear Mayor and Council members and public, this is Luna. Luna is our 4-year-old American Staffy mix. She is absolutely the sweetest dog ever. She's very human oriented. She loves people. She's kind of medium energy dog, so it's easier. She's easier to handle, and she is not a big dog, which is also beneficial. She's been in our shelter for over a year, so we're hoping that very, very, very soon we can find her forever family, because she really, really needs people around her. She seems to be doing well with the dogs around too, so potentially she can be another dog in a family after proper introduction. She's just a fantastic dog, so we hope that soon she can find home of her own.
You can see she has trouble making herself at home in new situations. Ha.
She's enjoying the air conditioning. So.
She's had a really fun night. We've been over at the National Night Out with San Gabriel before coming here tonight, and she made tons of friends there and seemed to get along great with kids and just about everything except the skateboards. So she's got a bright future if somebody can see the potential in her that we do, and we're hoping tonight will be the night she gets the exposure she needs.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's walking who there?
She likes to explore.
Off for a
and
treat.
drags me sometimes.
It's really cute.
That's her first night, really first night outside the shelter.
And she's enjoying it.
So she's enjoying it fully, and she's going to stay today at my house. So she's going to have also house experience.
Cute.
Yeah, she's going to end her night with a sleepover at Gosha's.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you do volunteering to help the animals. So I know you've taken a few animals home.
Yes. This is how volunteering at the shelter ends up. We always end up with multiple cats and dogs. And sometimes rabbits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We move to item B. We have Peter Choi here, President of the Temple City Chamber of Commerce, for an update.
Good evening, Mayor Sternquist, City Council, City staff, Temple Cityans. I'm Peter Choi, President of the Temple City Chamber of Commerce, with our quarterly report. Our big news first of all, we had our chamber elections this past quarter, April, May, June, being the second quarter of the year. We had our chamber elections, and we are delighted to welcome 2 new members to the chamber board, Gerard Atienza from the Toastmasters Club, and we're super delighted to welcome back onto the board Rita Padilla, Realtor extraordinaire and Temple City resident, so we're glad to have her institutional wisdom back on the board. The Chamber Board also elected their executive officers for the coming year, and Judy Hoymenya was unanimously re-elected as the board chair. Great to have that continuity. Brian Barreto of California American Water stepped up to serve as vice chair for the coming year. Ed Chen remains as our past chair. Ed from Athens Services. Doris Tsai from Edward Jones Financial, one of our new members, stepped up to be our secretary. And Margaret Healy from Quality Bookkeeping, again, returning as our finance chair. We are very, very lucky to have a professional bookkeeper doing our books for this nonprofit. We continue to publish Temple City Life, our popular newspaper, and I always like to use this time in the Bully Pulpit to remind those who enjoy reading the paper to submit your stories to us. We are a submission-based newspaper. We don't have reporters that go out. So if there's a kid making Eagle Scout, if there's someone celebrating their 75th anniversary, any news, even sad news like obituaries, just submit it by the 20th of the month for the next month's newspaper. And just call the chamber if you have questions about that. But we encourage all sorts of news. Generally, I tend to just mention that we do mixers and networking events as usual, and that we do the paper. But every now and then, I do like to highlight in some detail what that means. So for instance, with Temple City Life newspaper, we do cover a wide variety of stories that are submitted, and we enjoy that. We also cover many city articles. So just some highlights of city-related stories from the past quarter. Council taps Sternquist as mayor, senior master plan, the city Easter egg hunt, 10 open seats on the 3 city commissions, 5K Color Fun Run, National Day of Prayer, 2017 Relay for Life, Parks and Rec Camp-a-Palooza, City Youth Committee recruitment, of course, the Temple City High School graduation, the city general plan update, Temple City Library events, and the summer concerts in the park. Speaking of the summer concerts in the park, the very popular thing that's great for the business community and great for the downtown community, bringing thousands of people in, discovering our city and our business community downtown here. Even on the periphery, as they drive in, the Chamber was delighted to participate in the summer concerts last Wednesday and donated raffle prizes worth over $500 to be handed out. Special thanks to Wushu Action Star Academy for their donations that were a big part of that number. Again, it was a great night, and thanks to board members Jim Walden and Margaret Healy who attended that night on behalf of the Chamber. We do grand opening ceremonies, networking mixers. We are very thankful to the City Council and City staff and business members that attend. In the past quarter, we had a grand opening for Meat Tea Restaurant, for the Blossom Walk Community Development, for Asian Rehabilitation Services. We had numerous business mixer events, our new member mixer at Cabrera's Restaurant, a second new member mixer at the Chamber office, an open house mixer with Toastmasters Club of Temple City with our guest speaker, William Hung. Business breakfast mixers have been very popular. We do it every other month at El Ruiseñor Restaurant. We want to thank very much on April 19th, our guest speaker was Community Development Director Michael Forbes, who gave a great talk on new projects in the city to a very full room. So we thank him for that. It was great. And on July 12th, most recently, to a very full house, we were delighted to introduce Temple Station Captain David Flores. So that's going very well. We also have done community events in the past quarter. April 29th, we did a How to Get a Job fair at First United Methodist Church. Great to work with Pastor David Palmer. And on June 17th weekend, we did a free electronic waste recycling event. We've also continued to engage in regional discussion of economic issues. On June 5th, I, as the head of this chamber, am a member of the Valley Association of Chamber Executives. We meet once a month. These are my peers heading all the different chambers in the 626. We meet once a month for lunch and talk about issues in common, from nuts and bolts of running a chamber nonprofit to the bigger regional economic issues. June 5th, Temple City Chamber hosted the VACI lunch at El Ruiseñor Grill Restaurant. The reason for that is, even though it seems like we're talking about El Ruiseñor a lot, and why not? It's a great restaurant. But for the past 2 years, we've hosted them at Phoenix, at Chuan's. So we thought we'd let them know there was something else besides Asian food here and encourage that as well. And so we did that. I'm honored to continue to serve as the honorary chair of VACI, elected by my peers. July 18th, we co-sponsored LA's largest mixer at the Pasadena Civic Center. And on April 19th, I joined regional business leaders to explore closer working relationships between the USA-based Wenzhou General Chamber of Commerce, Wenzhou is a business district in China, and other SGV organizations. The Chamber was delighted to welcome 3 new members in this past quarter. American Legion Post 279. And we're delighted about that, and I thank very much our board member, Frank Rudell, for his help. I've been trying to get them to join because veterans are a very important thing for both me personally and the Chamber as well, and we wanted to engage with them and help them build up their membership. The American Legion, like many service and community organizations in the 626, skews older in their age. And especially are looking for veterans, who are under 40, perhaps have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so we've been working with them and kind of brainstorming on how they can use their great space right here on Las Tunas. I'll be talking about our open house mixer that we'll be doing on September 3rd in just a minute. We also welcomed Imprintability. This is a company that does logos and T-shirts and pens and coffee mugs and all that. So great to have them. We had not had a member like that, so we'll be utilizing their services. And Century Router Service and Plumbing, and the owner Vicki Knight. Upcoming, looking ahead to the next quarter. On August 23rd, I really wanted to note that we are presenting a free seminar, $10 for chamber members, $15 for prospective members, on grant writing, on writing grants for sponsorships, etc. Grant Writing for Dummies and Smarties. It will be led by Michelle Freeridge, who's the executive director of the Asian Youth Center and an adjunct professor at University of the West. It's August 23rd in the Chamber Boardroom, 6 to 8 p.m. And actually, this is one of those requests I'm always asking our members, what do you need to help your organization? And one of the local preschools said they really needed help with grant writing. So I said, that's fantastic. So we set up this seminar, and we invite any organizations that might want to write a letter requesting sponsorship, scholarship, donors, etc., to come to this. And I think it's going to be a really great event. And if it goes well, and if there's continued interest, of course, we will repeat it if you're not available on August 23rd. And finally, last but not least, again, the American Legion Post 279. We are hosting Open House Mixer, open to the community, on Wednesday, September 6th. We really encourage, if you have family or friends or neighbors who are veterans of war, especially of Iraq and Afghanistan, to invite them to come to this open house mixer. The American Legion Hall is not always open. And so this is an opportunity to see it with people. And that'll be Wednesday, September 6th at 7 o'clock, American Legion Post number 279 at 9522 Las Tunas Drive.
7 o'clock at night?
Sorry?
7 o'clock at night or?
7 p.m.
Okay,
7 to 9 p.m.
thank you.
And the highlight of the open house mixer is the return of the Chamber's pie contest. This is a pie baking contest, not a pie eating contest. We will once again determine who is the best pie maker in Temple City. The only caveat is that you must be a Temple City resident or business owner to enter. But the community open house is open to everyone in the area because the Temple City American Legion would welcome any members. But for the contest itself, to enter, please call the chamber and let them know because space is limited. And we're very excited. It's been a very fun event in the past because it's a contest and the pies look great. And somebody will win and be declared best pie maker in Temple City.
Now, will
that is-
those in attendance be able to eat the pies afterwards?
Well,
or-
I will give you a preview that the top 3 pies will be auctioned off.
Oh,
The 3
okay.
will be auctioned off, and that money will go to a local organization, perhaps in this Temple City pageant.
Cool.
But the other pies, the non-winning pies, will be sliced up. Everyone will have a raffle ticket when you arrive, and we will call you, and you can come up and pick your piece of pie and either eat it there with your friends or take it home. And I will end by saying I'm very, very delighted to share. We have 3 judges, and one of them is our board chair, Judy Hoymenya, who is an extremely talented baker herself. I actually asked her right away, are you going to enter or would you like to judge? And she agreed to judge because we're really looking for impartiality. My peer, over at the Rosemead Chamber of Commerce, Ray Jan, the executive director of the Rosemead Chamber, who is a super foodie that I know, and she will be the second judge. And our third judge is someone that I believe our council member Tom Chavez coached in the Little League. He's a veteran, Chris Klein,
Oh, really?
that we
Interesting.
recognized and honored 4 or 5 years ago. And I reached out to him, and he was available, and so he will be our third judge. Good to get a man's opinion in there, and also a veteran's opinion, and a Temple City boy, well, now a young man, doing very well, going to college, getting his degree, and looking forward to reconnecting with him on September 3rd. So thank you very much, Mayor Sternquist. That is the Chamber's report for
Wait,
this
September
past quarter.
3rd or September 6th?
Sorry, did I say 3rd?
Yeah, you
It's
said
the
3rd.
6th.
Sorry, Wednesday, September 6th.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Are there
Thank
any
you, Mayor.
I have
other questions?
I just have one question. For a story to be submitted for the paper, should people call you or email you?
No, just email it to, our email is right at the masthead of the paper, info@templecitychamber.com.
Okay.
Just send in your submission by the 20th of each month. Send in 3 or 4 high-resolution pictures if you got them. We publish in color. We like to print pictures. And we will, and I always tell people, don't worry if you are not a reporter, a writer, or were an English major in college. We just need the data and the information. We always review and edit for clarity and length. And so we will clean it up and make it legible if it is not. But most people do a really good job when they submit.
And how do you want the pictures? Do you want them in a certain format?
Just as a JPEG attachment with the
Okay.
email.
Great. Anyone else? Thank you, Peter.
Great, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mayor.
Welcome back, Rita. Okay, we move to item C, our senior master plan update. And we have Steve Lawson here this evening, our Parks and Recreation Manager. And he will make an introduction and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you and good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. I'd like to introduce this evening Donna Giorgino. She is the Senior Master Plan Advisory Committee Chair, and she's going to provide an update on the progress thus far. But before she does that, I just wanted to publicly acknowledge and thank her for her volunteerism so far. When we were looking through the different applications for this, it was truly an easy choice for us to determine who we would recommend for the chair. Donna's done a great job over the last several months, and we're excited for what is to come. I know I could speak for Director Kathy Burrows and myself. We're extremely pleased with their progress thus far. We're even more excited about working with them over the next several months to ultimately produce this such an important document. So she'll go over highlights of everything, but just wanted to make sure that she got the recognition she deserves because she's really done a great job. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Donna, and she'll update you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, City staff, audience. Thank you for having me here tonight to do an update on Temple City's Senior Master Plan. It is an honor to be here representing the 15 members of the Senior Master Plan Advisory Committee. Not only do they bring to the Senior Master Plan Advisory Committee a variety of knowledge and experiences for the group to draw from, but they are an enthusiastic, passionate, and hardworking group. Members of the committee are Aubrey Chan, Marie Chen, Carol Darty, Kohei Ishida, Dennis Leung, Lucy Liu, Michael Mackless, Sharon Morris, Elizabeth Powell, Pam Polagy, Joanne Rosso, Ann Seitz, Gavin Ward, and Michael Winterkorn. And as you can see, there's some new names there, people who haven't been involved before, so it's really exciting. The first meeting of the Senior Master Plan Advisory Committee was held on June 1st, and I'd like to thank Mayor Pro Tem William Mann for coming and giving us such an inspirational welcome and getting us off on a good foot. We wasted no time in getting to work. Our consultant gave a presentation explaining the work effort, the process, and the timeline, and our city staff gave a presentation going over demographic information for the community and an overview of programs offered by the city for older adults. Then we divided up into working committees, and there were 3 that we put together that evening. The first one was a vision statement and goals. The second one was community input, and the third one was stakeholders input. In the month between our first and second meeting, our subcommittees got to work. The 5 members of the vision statement and goals subcommittee actually put together a vision statement and goals, so they got right to work. The vision statement is to provide resources to mature adult community members 50 years and older to sustain an active quality of life. And their goals were to develop partnerships, remove cultural and language barriers, promote lifelong learning, enhance the health and mental health of mature adults, promote effective local and regional transportation services, increase access to technology by mature adults, and to support a full-service mature adult center. The Community Input Subcommittee is comprised of 6 Senior Master Plan Advisory Committee members, and they put together a short 3-question survey, and you may have seen them out and about in the community distributing those surveys. They've been at the concerts in the park. I know they went to the last Neighborhood Watch meeting. Yeah, that was at St. Luke's. The survey is also available on the city's website, and it's been on Facebook. I imagine it's been on Nextdoor and all over the place. So, so far we have 75 surveys, but we hope to get more as the time goes on. And I want to encourage anyone who has You don't have to be a senior to fill it out because if you're not a senior yet, you're going to be one, hopefully someday. And also, a lot of people in the community are caregivers for seniors. So they would have a viewpoint that would be valuable to us also. The third committee is the Stakeholder Input Committee.
Sorry,
And-
what are the questions that you asked?
One of them is, what are the top 3 issues that seniors in Temple City face? Then I think the other one was, well, I better ask Steve.
Yeah,
I'm not on that committee, so.
Yeah, that was the first one. The second one was more open-ended. Do you have any recommendations or input as to what you'd like to see? And the third one, I don't recall exactly, but it was very open-ended to get their input, basically.
Okay, so it wasn't like choose A or B? It was
No,
like-
it was,
No.
yes, it was,
Good.
tell us what you'd like to see and
Good.
why.
And Dawn, I have a question. You don't have to be a resident to fill out the survey.
No, you don't. So that's a community input subcommittee. Then there's the stakeholders input subcommittee. This is the one I'm on, so I know this one much better. It's comprised of 5 members, and we created a 6-question survey, and we designated 16 people in the community as stakeholders. And these are people that have decision-making responsibility that affects seniors, or they're very influential in the senior community. You can see some of them listed there. The Chamber of Commerce, Arcadia Methodist Hospital, San Gabriel Hospital, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I know mayor got interviewed, the city manager got interviewed. And so these are a little more in-depth interviews where we try to get more insight into the ideas and suggestions for what we could do to help the older adults in Temple City. Our second Senior Master Plan Advisory Committee was held on July 6th, and we had an educational presentation by a panel from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles County Fire Department, Temple City's Public Safety Division, and also a representative from the San Gabriel Valley YWCA. They do case management for seniors in Temple City. And they spoke about public safety issues in Temple City, and it was excellent. It was so enlightening and very interesting, and they gave us a lot of good information. We also, at that time, approved the vision statement and the goals that the subcommittee had put together. And we created a 4th subcommittee. Some of the people that were in the vision and goals committee wanted to keep involved. So we created a 4th committee, and that is we're going to be putting together a matrix of existing services for seniors. And then, so we'll have a starting point. There are 3 more regular meetings scheduled. The next one is this Thursday, August 3rd. We're going to have, again, a panel doing a presentation on health and wellness. All meetings are held at Live Oak Park in the annex at 6:30, and the community is more than welcome to attend. We will accept community input during the meeting, but it's also really enlightening to come and hear the panel presentations. Our September meeting will be held,
I
yes.
have a question. Do we offer dial-a-ride for any of these meetings?
That I don't know. Steve, do you know, is dial-a-ride?
Specifically for these meetings?
Yeah.
I don't believe we have, but if that was requested, I'm sure it's something that we could work out. But we haven't advertised it or.
I'm just
or
thinking that might
marketed.
be.
We have one member who's a dial-a-ride user, and she's visually impaired. And so other people on the committee I know have been going and picking her up and taking her home. So that's been nice for her. September, our program will be on community issues such as housing, intergenerational programs, economic issues. Then our October meeting will be on transportation. And then in November, we will have a almost all-day workshop. The location hasn't been determined yet, but that's where we'll sit down. We'll have all the information that everyone has gathered, and we'll start putting together the plan. So, again, that meeting also is open to the public, so anybody who would like to attend is welcome to. But I really encourage people to attend our regular meetings because we have the panel presentations, and if they're anything like the last one, they're really interesting and really great information. So that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Donna, just a question on the transportation panel. Who is coming to that?
I'll have to defer to Steve. I don't know if he's put that one together yet.
We're still working on that. We'll definitely have a representative from Dial-A-Ride. And at our next meeting, we'll discuss furthermore kind of what we're looking for. I'll meet with Kathy and we'll talk about it as well. So, but first and foremost, we want to make sure we have whatever transportation services we offer here at the city. So yeah, we'll definitely be looking, maybe look for someone from Metro. We're just going to kind of look and see what's out there. But we usually start on those pretty early, so we'll get started on it this month.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, how about the presentation this Thursday night? Can you tell us who will be there?
We have a representative from HICAP through the county, and we also have a representative from Shork and Senior Health Solutions. Donna actually referred me to her, so she's going to come out and talk on different issues and so forth related to health and well-being for the company that she runs. And still waiting on a representative, a dietitian from YWCA, who's going to let me know tomorrow. So we've been fortunate to get some really qualified speakers, like Don had mentioned. So everyone's really thrilled to be invited and help out, especially the senior population. So we're working hard
I'd
at
love to
that.
help you with some contacts for transportation.
That'd be great. Yeah. If anybody ever has recommendations on those topics, please send them to Kathy or myself, and that'd be outstanding.
Thank you.
Steve, I have a question. Do you have a flyer or something that we can share on social media that has all of the dates of the upcoming meetings? I've had people ask me, and I know they're on Thursday, but
Yes, we have something that we could spice up a little bit. Absolutely,
could
we
you
turn
maybe
that over
send
real
it to
quickly.
each of us?
Absolutely.
So that we can share it?
Yes, I'll get that to you tomorrow.
Thank
City
you.
website, perhaps?
Well, he said he doesn't really have.
We have a
He's
web
gonna
page
put one-
on the city website, but as far as like a flyer is concerned, yes, we could easily put something together with the
Something that I could
dates.
just send to people that are interested, that have all the dates on it.
Yes,
So if they
yes,
can't make
I'll
one, they
put
can
that
make
together
another.
and I'll send that out tomorrow. That'll
Thank you.
be easy. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I hope to be back in another couple of months, and I'll give you another update.
Thank you, Donna. for
Thank
your-
you.
so
Thank you, Donna. You're awesome.
Okay, we move to item 6, public comments that are not listed on the agenda. Is there anyone? Let me look at Jing. We have Jing Lee from our county library here.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. And this is Jean Lee from Temple City Library. I'm here to talk about our upcoming August programs. And this Friday and Saturday, we actually gonna have a college readiness for teens. So Friday from 2 to 3, Princeton Review, a representative from Princeton Review will come to the library to talk about the college admission planning and the preparation. So Saturday from 10:30 to 12 p.m., we're going to have a higher education consultant will come to the library, conduct a mini workshop on best practice in writing a concise and convincing college essay. So that one, since we have very limited space, so sign up is required. And so far, I think we have 15 seats. We have 10 people. We have 5 seats left. And if you want to come to the essay workshop, we recommend you bring your own laptop or have your library card. We do have a laptop kiosk in the library, so you can check out the laptop in the library. So I highly encourage the community, the teens, attending this workshop. Normally, you have to pay a lot of money to get this kind of consultant work done, but in the library, it's free. So another thing, thanks for the Los Angeles County Art Commission and also Supervisor Catherine Bodger, and we award for the free concert in the public space. So that concert is going to start in Saturday, August 19, from 2 to 3, and we are going to have a band. It's called Kui Kani, and which is Afro, Caribbean, and soul music. So that is for the whole family to enjoy. So that's going to be Saturday, August 19 from 2 to 3. And also, have you know the first solar eclipse visible in the United States in nearly 40 years is going to happen on Monday, August 21st. So the library is going to host a solar eclipse viewing on Monday, August 21st from 10 to 11. And we're going to learn the science behind the solar eclipse, and also we're going to make your own viewer. And after that, we're going to recreate the lunar phases of the moon using chocolate cookies. So we are going to provide the safety view glasses. So it will be fun for all age, but we recommend the most suitable for age 5 to 17. The last but not least, I was very happy to announce, and our friends of the library applied a grant for the Pasadena tournament of those. The grant is called A Year of Girl Empowerment, and we actually was awarded for the reward. So so on the August 24, we're going to have a Year of Girl Empowerment program. That's going to be 4:30 to 5:30 from 3rd grade to 12th grade. It's for boys, girls. Everybody is welcome. Although we say it's girls empowerment, but everybody can come. So the staff from the Columbia Memorial Space Center will come to the library, talk about aerospace science and robotics. They're going to conduct a mini robotic workshop where they will speak about their job and daily lives at the Space Center and demonstrate a day at the Space Center with some robotic programming. So hopefully we can, everybody come to the program will receive a free book. So hopefully, our kids will get inspired, will be another astronauts in Temple City. And I think September 1, we're actually going to invite the Milk and Tea Boba, the two girls graduate from Temple City High. So they will be our next presenter. Probably sometime we'll invite, council member come as well.
Jing, our time is up, but if you could just briefly tell the public about the great read-away with fines.
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. So, the library law is offer a very great program. It's called the Great Read Away. It's for 21 and under, include 21 years old. So basically what happened is you have any overdue fee and fine, you lost a book, you lost a library card, and normally you have to pay. And now you actually just read books in the library. You talk to the librarian, sign up, and each hour, I think, it will deduct $5 from your account. Yes. But if you don't have anything to read, we cannot give you money back.
Wait.
Thank you.
So,
Credit. So if you owe $50.
So if I owe money to LA County,
yes,
I can work that off by going to the library and reading there.
Yeah.
Okay, but only if
Reading
you,
what?
whatever you choose to read.
Okay.
But only if
under
you
21.
owe LA County library funds.
Right.
Not
You can't
anything,
pay off a
not
part-
And it has to be
taxes, anything.
21 and under.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Have to be 21 and under.
And you have to be
Property
21 and under.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so they give
these
like
all was
well.
they want to give like access to the
Going to
kids. So
suggest that to the senior thing, but I guess that cuts
they
them
were
out,
talking
too.
maybe in the future they're going to just get rid of all the fee and fine. Oh, so it has been going very good. Everybody love it, and so it's a great program. And we don't have an ending date, so maybe gonna last forever. So if you have any fee and fine,
And I know
outstanding.
that the library is trying to make, the county libraries are trying to make them as accessible as
Yes,
possible.
yeah.
And there were some people, believe it or not, that had a couple $100 in fines, but, and wouldn't come to the library because they didn't want to,
Because
they
they-
didn't have the money to pay. So this was a great incentive to get people reading, and it's something that I think our new head librarian, Sky Patrick, is really trying to push accessibility.
It's a great
So,
idea.
Reminds me of a Seinfeld episode.
yeah.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you for the reminder.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Nope. Moving on to the consent calendar, and we are going to have item D.
Oh.
The recusal.
Wait,
of-
I'll do it. I'll do it. She did.
No, no,
She
no.
did it wrong. Can I do it?
Absolutely.
Mayor.
Can I just, the idea was that Eric was going to explain.
Oh, you're going to explain
the
it first
public
before we do it?
Yes.
I will explain it if you'd like me to.
Okay.
Sure. As you know, the Political Reform Act requires council members who have a conflict of interest on an item to state that conflict and recuse yourself. The mayor and Councilmember Fish have a conflict of interest with regard to item 7D. The Brown Act allows, and so does the Political Reform Act allows, council members voting on an item on the consent calendar to state that they are recusing themselves, to remain on the dais, vote as part of the motion, but the clerk will reflect that item 7D only has 3 votes and won't count any vote for the mayor or Councilmember Fish.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Fish.
Mayor Sternquist, I would like to recuse myself from consent calendar item D. I have a personal interest or financial interest in a business within 500 feet of the project.
And I too will recuse myself for the same reason. Okay, can we have a motion?
Motion approved consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any objections? Okay, being none, the motion carries. Okay. We move to item 8, public hearing, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 17-1025, amending and restating Article T of Chapter 1 of Title 9 of the Temple City Municipal Code pertaining to the regulation of marijuana uses and activities.
Mayor Sternquist, members of the council, before you tonight is a recommended ordinance from the interim urgency ordinance that was passed last year related to the types of uses and regulations of medical marijuana and marijuana uses statewide in light of the passage of the state proposition last year. Associate Planner Adam Gulick has been shepherding this through the process and will provide you with an overview and presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the audience. Tonight before you is a code amendment relating to recreational marijuana in the city. This is a brief background about marijuana regulations in Temple City. 2011, the city passed an ordinance that prohibits medical marijuana dispensaries in the city. In 2015, there was some updates to the medical marijuana regulations for the state. And subsequently, in early 2016, the city passed regulations prohibiting all the uses that were specified in the changes of that act. In 2016, in anticipation of Proposition 64, which is what I'm going to be discussing tonight, the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, the city passed an urgency ordinance that temporarily established some prohibitions on the recreational use of marijuana in the city. Shortly after that, the proposition did pass by the voters in California, and the city extended that urgency ordinance, which expires on October 31st, 2017. So an overview of the act, any individual over 21 years of age is allowed to possess up to 28 grams of marijuana or up to 8 grams of concentrated marijuana. You're also allowed to give individuals over 21 are also allowed to give away those same amounts to individuals over 21. The act also allows individuals or households to grow or cultivate up to 6 plants, marijuana plants. And there are the act does allow for certain instances where people can smoke or ingest marijuana and marijuana products. One of the regulations for the act is that individuals are not allowed to use while driving or riding in a vehicle for obvious reasons. And also regarding personal use, the act does restrict individuals from smoking in public places. This also includes you cannot smoke on public property within 1,000 feet of a school, daycare center, or youth center. It is also prohibited on school grounds or daycare centers or youth centers. And private companies are still allowed to prohibit marijuana use by employees. So the act establishes basically non-medical marijuana uses and activities, kind of similar to the Medical Marijuana Act that was passed a couple years ago. This allows local jurisdictions to prohibit, conditionally permit, or permit in commercial and manufacturing zones. Licenses are issued by the state. There's various agencies that will issue these licenses. There's 19 different licenses, and one of the important things is that the state does not require local approval. So if a local jurisdiction does not have anything that specifically prohibits the marijuana use or activity, the state will issue a license to that business in that jurisdiction. The act also establishes taxes on marijuana, sales tax, excise, and cultivation, and the money for those programs, or a portion of the money for those programs, will be used on various local programs that go towards youth prevention, substance abuse, etc. And with that, staff and the Planning Commission have recommended some items. The personal use, there's no action required. The city already has existing regulations that prohibit smoking in public places, which also includes smoking marijuana. Personal indoor cultivation. So this is one of the important things. The act does require that local jurisdictions allow indoor cultivation. So we've kind of broken it down into four topics or 4 areas to ensure that the residence remains a residence and the person that is cultivating lives at that residence, to make sure that the use is an accessory to the house, that the cultivation area is secure, and that there aren't any building or safety issues. So I'm going to briefly discuss some of the items. There's 18 different ones, but these are some of the items. Some of these items are from the state or from the act, and also there's some other regulations from other jurisdictions in California that allow indoor cultivation for medical marijuana. So you need to be at least 21 years of age to cultivate. There's a maximum of 6 plants per residence. No matter how many people are living in the household, there's still a limit of 6. It's only allowed in a private residence where the person resides. Not allowed in commercial or industrial areas. The modifications for the cultivation area can't impede on any cooking, sleeping, or sanitation, basically, so it remains a residence. Any improvements that are going to be done that would require building permits, we would require them to get permits. This is anything that's a permanent item, so if you're constructing walls or permanent plumbing, gas, mechanical, electrical items, then those require permits. We put a restriction that it can't be located in a garage.
Adam?
Yes.
What if the garage was turned into an accessory dwelling?
You would be able to cultivate in that because it's technically a residence.
So can do accessory dwellings get their own addresses?
Yes.
So then it would be 6 for each house?
Correct.
Okay.
We put a limitation in there of can't exceed 50 square feet. That's similar to some of the other jurisdictions that allow the medical marijuana. The lighting for the cultivation can't exceed 1,200 watts. There's one of the reasons for that number is to prevent circuit overload, and which could cause a fire. Cannot use generators or gas products. These are kind of temporary. That could cause explosion or fire if not properly maintained. We put in that it requires ventilation. So to prevent mold, one of the big things to prevent mold from the unit and also to reduce the odors that could be emitted from the cultivation. Can't store hazardous materials. The plants or equipment cannot be visible from a street, private driveway, or fire lane. That the cultivation area needs to be securely locked at all times and cannot be accessible to individuals under 21 years of age. Staff is, one of the things that the Act does allow is for local jurisdictions to prohibit outdoor cultivation. That is one of the items that staff and the Plan Commission are recommending. One of the reasons is that it could be the odors emitted from the plants could be an attractant for individuals, criminals that are looking to either steal for personal use or to sell. Where, as you know, the existing prohibition on the medical marijuana, we're going to continue that with the commercial. There's a lot of evidence out there that shows that that these uses have a effect on the public safety. These businesses are cash businesses. One of the reasons is that since it is still considered a Schedule I drug, these businesses cannot obtain a checking or savings account because their banks are regulated by the FDIC. So these are cash businesses. They're an attractant for criminal organizations. A lot of robberies occur, shootings, deaths. So that's one of the reasons why staff is recommending to also prohibit these uses. Taxation, there's no action required since the staff is recommending to prohibit all the commercial activities. During the Plan Commission meeting, two of the commissioners had brought up a question about outdoor cultivation and whether or not grant revenue would be, if the city would miss out on that. Staff looked into that, and it appears that if a local jurisdiction is prohibiting commercial uses, that it doesn't matter whether the city allows outdoor or prohibits outdoor cultivation. And Plan Commission ultimately, they unanimously approved or recommending that the City Council adopt the proposed ordinance. And with that, the staff and the Plan Commission are recommending to adopt the ordinance, finding that the project is exempt from CEQA and approving the project for a code amendment to be in line with the Act. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you.
So Mayor and Council, just so you get, other than the preemptions that the state is requiring us to do, we are essentially continuing with the prohibitions that you have enacted during the urgency ordinances that we've enacted since the passage of the state proposition. So beyond the preemptions that the state is requiring through the law, you're prohibiting all that other activity on a go-forward basis.
Okay.
We're here for any questions.
Councilmember, do you have
So
questions?
outdoor personal is prohibited by this ordinance?
Correct.
Outdoor personal cultivation.
Huh?
Outdoor personal consumption will be allowed under state.
Yeah, it's just you cannot plant.
Yep.
Anything else?
That's it.
Just a couple of questions. It says it's only allowed for full-time residents. How are we defining full-time residency?
Under the law, a resident is a person who resides in the jurisdiction 181 days out of the year.
181 days? Okay. And second question is, says it can't be accessible to anyone who's under 21 years of age. So if someone had a household of children,
I noticed that too.
would they be able to keep that cultivation area under a locked door? And I mean, how do we define accessible or not accessible?
I think that would depend. From my perspective, if it was an area that was capable of being secured without entry to anybody, it might suffice.
That's kind of gray then. Okay. And not that I am expecting this to ever be applied, but how does this law apply to lands that are designated as institutional use?
Councilmember, you mean like designated for hospital or county
Like
use or
say
public
schools,
buildings?
churches, according to our general plan, that's considered institutional?
Well, people can only cultivate on a personal residence, so unless
So
there's a-
that would exclude them from it?
excludes it. I suppose you can have an odd situation where there might be an institutional use, like a church or a temple, that had an on-site residence, and if that were the case, that on-site residence would qualify for cultivation of up to 6 cannabis plants. I think that might be an odd situation, but
Yeah.
legally, I think you could probably do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, that, hate to say it, but all the St. Luke's priests live in houses that are on the premises, so they don't live in the church, they live in the house, on the grounds.
On the grounds.
I agree, they probably could, it's a house.
It would.
I have a question, Mayor
Yes.
Sternquist. You know, and go through all the packets of materials, all the stuff that you've provided to us. I haven't seen one thing on any penalties for violations or enforcement. I don't know, is there any? I mean, how is this thing going to be enforced, and who's going to enforce it? And is it the city? Is it the sheriff?
A combination. The ordinance itself doesn't have to have any specific penalties because everything in your municipal code is either designated as an infraction or a misdemeanor. And unless the ordinance designates something as a misdemeanor or an infraction, it is a misdemeanor. And under state law, you can either enforce a violation of the state code by seeking an injunction, which the ordinance itself specifically
Yeah, I saw that. I
addresses,
saw that there's an injunctive relief.
or by a criminal misdemeanor case, or by seeking a fine of up to $1,000. The one wrinkle here is that the health and safety code provisions that implement Prop 64 only allow a fine of up to $500 if you violate the 6 plant limit. Now, it's also a misdemeanor, so you can be prosecuted for a misdemeanor. And your code enforcement department could obviously do inspections. A lot of this has to do with your building department because there's a lot of conditions that have to be incurred. But we would have to speak with the sheriff's department as to who would go forward with a criminal investigation or issuance of a misdemeanor citation.
And I have spoken
Have
with,
we had that discussion?
I've had that discussion with Captain Flores just recently as well, and that it will be that kind of balancing act between once that crosses over that line of a building and safety violation to the misdemeanor prosecution. So we will work in conjunction with the sheriff's department and put them, obviously affording everybody their rights under the law as well, but affording those rights. But once we've evidentially, from an evidence standpoint, determines that it's crossed that line, that's when the sheriff's department will come in. We've had one incident in the city where an illegal dispensary has come into town. We took the steps along with the city attorney's office to ensure that, one, the rights were afforded to all involved, but at the same time stepped in from a law enforcement standpoint when it was appropriate and legal to do so. We will continue to do that on a go-forward basis.
And if these become ongoing problems of some volume, other cities have put together kind of a coordinated team that involves law enforcement, planning, building, and code enforcement so that you can go out and hit all of the problem areas, do inspections, or gather information and come back and seek warrants.
And that's what we essentially did with the one illegal dispensary that was discovered about a little more than a year ago or so. It was a very coordinated team together working with the city attorney's office, planning, code enforcement, and our sheriff's department in their respective roles, and from a timing standpoint and affording people their rights under the law, but it's still ensuring that public safety needs were met all the way through that process.
Now, my understanding of Prop 64 is that you still cannot drive while under the influence of marijuana.
Correct.
No
matter
different
whether
than
you're
in-
cultivating it or yourself or whatever. So how is it determined that you're under the influence of marijuana, and what is the penalty if you are pulled over for that?
It is the same, driving under the influence runs a
controlled
gamut
substance.
of
Yeah.
types of intoxication.
included in this?
That would be included, and they enforce that in the same manner.
But I remember reading though that there's no test for determining whether.
There is no test, but there is, and in talking to David too, they will still enforce. It's no test like a breathalyzer of those things, but same if someone is, you can be driving under the influence if you've taken too much Benadryl or other things that are an impairment.
So, for example, if a police officer has reasonable cause to pull somebody over because of erratic driving, they can always administer a field sobriety test that simply just tests your physical dexterity and your ability to respond.
Yeah, no, I know all that, but,
Cognitive function. But as to whether or not there's an agreed-upon standard like there is for blood alcohol level to measure TCH, it's my understanding there isn't one unless I've missed something recently.
You think they would have thought ahead on this a little bit? So they can draw blood to measure the marijuana content? Really? Okay. And what is that level? Is it, like, what is that level? Is it, I know with alcohol it's 0.08, but really? Gives you one more thing to worry about.
But you can also refuse that, can't you?
That's probably another thing that you don't, look, you don't
I'm
have to
just
take the
saying.
test, but I wonder if the DMV will take your license for that as well.
I don't know, but luckily enough, that's why you contract with the sheriff, so they'll take
Let
care
them
of all
worry
of
about
that
it.
for you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a couple questions. One, you said that most of these infractions are going to be misdemeanors. If someone is a repeated offender, have several misdemeanors on the same charge, is that going to change anything? Again, is that up to the sheriff's department? I mean, if we're going to get constant, I don't know, but I would assume we may get constant complaints about the same person over and over.
In a case where you have a chronic offender, that's something obviously that the DA would have to take into consideration if we were asking the DA to prosecute the criminal misdemeanor. If we were prosecuting it as a civil misdemeanor, not a civil misdemeanor, but a misdemeanor violation of our own code, we can only ask for up to 6 months or $1,000, regardless of how many there are. But if it becomes a problem, then we can always come back and consider different types of chronic nuisance ordinances that might give us a different way of addressing people who have multiple violations.
But we will also look towards, once if that becomes an identified problem area, that's something where more of our coordinated effort will come into play first internally to kind of tackle it from multiple angles, still affording people their rights under the law, but at the same time dealing with what is that nuisance that is continuing to repeat itself, and we all kind of know what's there.
Okay, anyone
Oh,
else?
I have one more question. Could you elaborate on the law that, you mentioned the FDIC about the deposit of money, so
You want to bring that up, Adam?
what is the law? This is the first I've heard.
So, since banks are regulated by the federal government, and marijuana is still considered a Schedule I drug, banks can't take in money received from illegal activities relating or including Schedule I drugs.
So these dispensaries, what are they doing with their money?
It's
They're
all
not-
cash.
They're not putting it in the bank?
Not all
is what
banks
you're
are
telling me.
FDIC insured.
That's true.
Oh.
Since the medical marijuana industry has opened up, there's been a number of state, local banks or co-ops or credit unions that don't have FDIC insurance, but will take deposits from medical marijuana dispensaries and cultivators.
Okay, thank you.
Or they use a credit card to pay their things.
Of course.
Is that where the money would come from then for those programs that were listed?
What programs?
It talked about, Adam, you have the programs listed up there.
Those taxes would need to be paid to the state.
Oh, the state taxation. Yeah, the state will impose a tax on legitimate sale, but since you don't have any in your community, I don't know what our share of the state tax trickle down will be. Some communities who are actively permitting this also impose their own tax, which they then keep for their own purposes.
Pasadena? Do they,
Not that I'm aware of in Pasadena.
okay, William?
Yeah, just one more question. I think I've asked this offline with the city attorney, but is there a way for us to legally track the legal permits that people pull for marijuana growth over time? So, like, let's say 1 year from now, could any of us simply ask Brian Cook how many permits have been pulled in the last year, and would we know the locations of all those people who have pulled it?
Well, that is an interesting question because not every inside cultivation will require a permit.
Correct.
If it requires some alteration to the residents in order to grow it, then they will have to come in and get essentially like a building permit and inspection. You would be able to access those and keep track of those. But if they can cultivate within a residence without disturbing the primary function of the building and otherwise meet all of the criteria, they're not required to come in and get a permit under this specific ordinance.
Okay.
So you wouldn't capture those.
Thanks.
I think it's hard to do that. So I don't know how many of those will be. I mean, it's only 50 square feet without impeding the primary purpose of each given room. I think that's going to be difficult to make without some kind of modification. So I think by and large, people will have to seek a permit. You'll be able to track those.
I imagine if they grow in pots, probably you wouldn't need any kind of modification.
You might not. And it's only 6 plants. And so until the plants get quite large, they don't take up very much room.
Yeah. And again, we're talking about people that are going to abide by the law in the first
Yes,
place.
that's right.
So,
If people don't abide by the law, let's say they're growing more than 6 plants, it can be very difficult unless they have quite a major hydroponic system in that's utilizing more water or more power, or there's some kind of extraction operation going where they use butane or propane or something like that. Those we look at as public nuisance ordinances, but it's difficult to find those unless we get information that that's happening. We can't just randomly go into homes without having reasonable cause to do an inspection.
No different than the manner in which we've caught some grow houses throughout town in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Adam, you had said earlier something about the ability to apply for grants. I was looking at this League of California City frequently asked questions. It was part of our packet. It says, one of the questions is, does the city's ban on commercial cultivation, personal outdoor cultivation, or retail sales of marijuana or marijuana products make it ineligible for state grant monies for law enforcement, fire protection, or other local programs addressing public health and safety associated with the implementation of Prop 64? And their answer is yes, that if we do ban that, then we are ineligible to receive state grant fund monies funded through the new state excise taxes that take effect January 1st, 2018. But we wouldn't get anything anyway if, I think that's what you addressed, is how far it's going to trickle down. Is that what you were speaking about? Because I think you said that it wasn't going to have an effect on it or something. I thought I remember your slide saying something about the grants.
Were you looking at the FAQ or the?
I'm looking at League of California's FAQ, but on your slide, there was a slide you had something about, at least when I remember the slide, something about not having an effect on any grants. I just wanted to clarify that with the FAQ. Bottom line is, I just want to make sure that we're not, by doing this, losing out on monies that we would have received otherwise.
I think the issue here was that at the Planning Commission meeting, some of the commissioners were thinking that if they allowed outdoor cultivation, then they would be eligible for grants. What we wanted to make clear to the commission and to council was that even if we allowed outdoor cultivation, we would not be eligible for the grants. What makes you eligible for the grants is whether or not you allow for commercial cultivation. Since we're not allowing commercial cultivation, we are not available, we cannot receive grants.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's not exactly what League of California Cities does, but I see your point. It seemed like there was a and/or, but you're saying is that since we're not allowing outdoor cultivation, we're not eligible?
Yes.
Even if we were to allow the other? Correct.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Nobody? All right. So I'm going to open the public hearing, and I have one speaker request, Steve Stafford.
Mayor Sternquist, council members, and city staff. I have a couple questions for staff. Once this is passed, are they going to be able to post signs like at our park here, at Live Oak Park, and other places where it's public? Because that's going to make it easier for the deputies to enforce it. Somebody calls and they're out there, like say some kids have it. The signs are actually, the court recognizes that there's got to be signs posted. So my question is, are they going to post signs once this is passed?
Okay. Anything else?
Because it needs to be done for the deputies to be able to enforce it. The second thing is, what about halfway houses? Is it legal in halfway houses or is it illegal?
The act has some language that prohibits certain uses that require a license through the state. There are some restrictions as far as if you're able to cultivate at a residence.
All right. Thank you. I just want to make sure they post signs on this so that, like over here at the park and Live Oak Park and other places, that it basically it gives the deputies a tool to enforce it. Without the signs, the court may have a problem with it. It's just like when they weren't posting years and years ago when I was very young, they didn't have signs prohibiting bike riding in there, and the court was dismissing the citations because it wasn't posted. So it needs to be posted. Thank you.
Eric?
Mayor and council, I'll just say that it's been a matter of state law for some time now that smoking, whether of tobacco or of cannabis, in many public facilities and public parks is prohibited under state law. You don't need to separately post a sign to make it illegal. It's already illegal, and you can be cited for that.
Or to enforce.
Or to enforce, correct.
Okay, Franklin Rudell.
I'm not in favor of any of it, but that's nothing I can do about that part of it.
That ship sailed.
Huh?
That ship sailed in the state election.
I know that, but that's all of our stupidity. But let me go a step further. I do believe that EDD does have the right to collect sales tax on the sales, on cash sales regardless. And I didn't hear anything about that. And secondly, what rights do landlords have for their own protection for their own properties? Anything? Or they just have to go along with the...
It says renter needs to seek permission.
Yeah, landlord can specifically prohibit.
That's what I would think, but I didn't hear that in what they were saying.
It's in the ordinance.
Okay. So,
Is that it?
that's it. I just
Okay.
wanted to point the sales tax issue out because I also didn't hear that either because I know they can collect it. So, thank you.
I'm not aware of
Licensed dispensaries and cultivation are exempt from state sales tax. However, unlicensed can be charged sales tax because any cash sale, as he mentioned, is subject to the sales tax. So they could either be subject to the sales tax or the cannabis taxes, whichever is greater, which is my understanding, if it's not permitted.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to close public comment. Do we have any council comment? None? Can I have a council motion?
Madam Mayor, I move to introduce for first reading by title only and waive further reading of ordinance number 17-1025, amending and restating Article T of Chapter 1 of Title 9 of the Temple City Municipal Code pertaining to the regulation of marijuana uses and activities, and schedule a second reading of ordinance number 17-1025 for August 15, 2017.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. If no objection, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fish?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Man?
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist?
Yes. And can we have our city clerk read the ordinance title?
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance number 17-1025, an ordinance of City Council of City of Temple City, California, amending and restating section 9-1T-7 of the zoning code of Temple City pertaining to the regulation of marijuana.
Okay, thank you. We move to item 9, unfinished business, none. New business, none. Communications, any?
None.
Okay, update from our city manager.
Just real briefly, tomorrow night, with one of our concerts in the park, will be National Night Out. Golden West will be blocked off from Woodruff to Las Tunas from about 6 to 9 p.m. Come out and see all the fun toys and stuff that keeps us safe with our LA County Sheriff's Department. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Update from our city attorney.
Council members, nothing tonight except to note that I did promise you to a paper that we have on homeless and homeless rights and properties rights. Greg and Kane of my office realized that there were a few changes to the law, so they're updating that. You should have it for you by your next meeting. Okay?
Thank you. Okay, council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. Any?
Do you want to report on our field trip today?
I'll have Councilmember Fish report on
I guess not.
the library ad hoc.
The library ad hoc today with our city manager and community develop. I think it's community development. Brian, no,
Assistant to the city manager. and
assistant.
economic development.
We visited 2 libraries today. One was in La Mirada, which is very close in size to ours, which is a completely renovated library. We got some really good ideas. Our architect, he's not our architect yet, but
He works for the county.
he works for the county. He was there. He was able to give us lots of information. We can ask lots of questions. And again, it's very nice because it's very close to the same size as ours. We also visited the Whittier Library, which is actually much larger, but it is from the ground up, brand new project that he also designed. Many great ideas. We're very excited about it. I hope we continue to visit all these libraries. It's just really astonishing at the detail and the amount of work that these architects take into it, as far as the lighting, the electrical, just everything. They think of everything. It's really kind of amazing. So I'm very, very happy to be on it.
Eric Marr that was the
Yes.
architect?
Great architect. Wonderful.
Is he good?
Yeah.
Good. Ask him.
If he says
I
he's
worked
good,
with
he's
him
good.
He says
many
it's good.
times, so.
Very passionate. That's all.
Let's see. Anybody? Councilmember you? Councilmember Mann?
Or on 15?
I think so.
Okay. Just real briefly, I just want to share with everyone, I'm sure everyone on council already knows, but Eric Ching, who is a fellow council member in the city of Walnut, his wife tragically passed away in a car accident roughly 2 weeks ago. And so there was a wake and funeral service over this past weekend. It was well attended. His wife, Tiffany Ching, was a very sweet woman. I can't say I know her well, but every time we were at conferences, and when Eric brought his family over, I would always see them and their 2 daughters. So it breaks my heart to have to share that news. I would just like to ask Mayor Sternquist, perhaps we can close and adjourn the meeting in the memory of Tiffany Ching.
Of course.
Thank you.
And thank you, Councilmember Yu and Councilmember Mann, for attending the service on behalf of the council and the
Thank you.
city. So thank you. And we have letters of condolences have gone out also.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fish, anything?
Oh, let's see. Just wanted to say that attended the last Neighborhood Watch meeting at St. Luke's. Very well attended. Thank you, Brian Arizumi, for moving it to somewhere that had air conditioning. We really appreciated that. Hadn't been to one in a year. That's my area. And I like to see that it's changed up a little bit. They have added some new information. Of course, the tacos are delicious. So, yeah, I just want to, thanks to the Sheriff's Department. They do a great job, and Brian also. And National Night Out. Oh, and then, of course, thank our Senior Master Plan Advisory Committee and Donna, but she left, for all their great work. I truly appreciate it. I think it's going to be really good for our city, and we're all headed in that direction. So that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez?
Nothing, thank you.
At our last concert in the park, somehow I was reminded that the mosquito and vector control district had asked the first 4 people to sign up for the mosquito repellent packets, and I was like the 3rd person, and they never followed through with delivering all those little packets to our concert. So if a staff member can reach out to them and tell them that we would love to get those for our concert goers, that would be great.
Well, you know, one thing I forgot to mention, and now that you mentioned that, one of my neighbors was having a problem with, they thought mosquitoes in their yard, and so they called, and someone from the Vector came out and did a whole inspection and gave them tips, and they were very nice and very helpful. So
That's
I
nice.
presume that's available to anybody who wants to
It
call.
is, and they have a great education program, and Jing, also, if you would like them to come out to educate the children, they have both a children's and an adult program, they'd be happy to come out and do a presentation. They bring out the mosquitoes, and they have giveaways for the kids.
Oh, cute.
So it's really nice, but I was just reminded about the repellent, so hopefully tomorrow
Yeah.
we can all get some repellent.
Well, you know, the funny thing was, when they came out, Jane was out there, and so they decided, well, why don't we come check your yard out too?
Oh, right.
And so I was, oh my God, now what? We passed, actually, with flying colors.
Good.
Yeah, they actually commended Jane, because, you know, she has plants, and as long as you don't have puddles and all that kind of stuff, it's just fine.
Well, you have been reminded numerous times.
Yes, I know. But we're in good shape. Got a passing grade, so.
I was very fortunate to be able to attend, on behalf of Foothill Transit, the Proterra's opening of their new manufacturing plant in the City of Industry. And they are the providers of the first electric buses, and Foothill Transit has a mission to go all electric by 2030. And so we were able to see the first electric bus, all electric bus, that will be out on the streets soon, and Foothill Transit has ordered 20 of them. So within the next 3 months, all of those electric buses should be out on the roads. One of the things that was just so awesome about Proterra is that they have a strong relationship with Rio Hondo and Mount Sac.
Good.
So quite a few of their employees who have been studying their electrical programs are now full-time employees with Proterra. So the company is actually giving back to the community by hiring those young men and women. And it's just amazing. If any of you would like to go on a tour to see the Proterra plant, let me know, and they'd be happy to have you come out and give you a tour. It's kind of like the Google workplace for bus people. I mean, even their staff room, and it's just
super
incredible.
modern,
It's just super
just-
modern.
Do they let you
and-
drive the bus?
They let me drive
Wasn't
a
there
bus.
a thing that you went to? It was like a bus?
It's the rodeo.
Rodeo that you got
The
to
bus
drive.
rodeo.
Yeah.
But because the electric buses run about $1.2
Yeah, I know
million
anybody just driving those things.
per bus, I don't have any more bus
Yeah.
driving privileges.
Do they
were
just
taken
charge
away.
them once a night, or how they
Well,
keep those
you know what's
charges?
so excited about these is that it's also the new technology has allowed electric buses to go 225 miles without being charged. So with the amount of buses Foothill Transit is getting, they'll be able to always have electric buses in flux, always moving from one place to another, so they're always out on the street. And it's an amazing place to go and see the batteries panels that are on the side of the buses. It's just incredible. People are just so intelligent.
Is there any discussion on the fares, if those are going to be increased as a result?
Actually, the fares aren't probably going to go up. We just Foothill Transit just recently did a fare increase. It was about $0.25 per ride. And one of the reasons is over the long run, electric buses take much less maintenance. They don't have to worry about getting rid of transmission fuel, oil. So the cost actually per mile is much less expensive on an electric bus. And when I was in Chicago, I was able to ride on, they only have 2 electric buses, and we got to ride on one of the first electric buses in Chicago, and it was so quiet and really didn't need shock absorbers, and so it was so smooth. It was like riding in a Tesla. And actually, Ryan Popple, who is the CEO of Proterra, actually worked as a CEO of Tesla.
Oh, wow.
So it's all very interesting. But and Ryan Popple is going to be the COGS General Assembly guest speaker. So it's about transportation. The future is now. So I'd like to invite everybody. It's October something, and you'll get a something from COG in your mailboxes. But very interesting. Transportation is just changing. Ridership across the state for buses because of Lyft and Uber has continued to decline. So all bus ridership is about 17% lower than it has been in previous years. And of course, they're looking at ways to attract people to using the bus. And with the Gold Line extension going out to Claremont within the next 5 to 10 years, they are facing challenges with bus ridership. So it's taking a look at the millennials, marketing towards the millennials, seeing how they can get them to continue to use bus services. So a lot of interesting things in transportation going on. But in the next month, you'll be able to ride it on an electric bus.
That's very cool.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty awesome, all electric.
Can you use the same pass for Foothill Transit with like Metro, or are they separate systems?
No, right now, if you get a tap card and you have money on it, you can interchange. You can ride, the Metro, or you can ride Foothill Transit. But there are a few lines going out towards Pomona that will no longer accept the Metro money that's on your pass. And I don't know what the reason is for that, but I just saw it on the director's report that came. But right now you can't, especially to go to LA, Silver Streak, Silver Line, interchangeable. You can't beat it. If you need to go downtown LA, take the Silver Streak. You have jury duty. It drops you off right on the corner. Walk across the street, all for $5 round trip. So with that said,
Actually, if you're on jury duty, they give you a free pass.
free
So
pass,
don't
but
even
you have to walk
don't even
way
have
to
to
Disney
pay.
Station or
No,
Oh, is that
it's
right?
a-
Free
yeah,
pass if you're a jury
If
duty?
you're on jury duty downtown, they give you a free pass to ride the Metro
to
and
ride the Metro?
Yes.
Oh wow.
How do you do that? You just show.
When you get selected to serve on a jury, you get one before you leave.
Wow.
Didn't know that, so now we know more people can serve.
Wow, I've never served
on jury.
We wouldn't know.
I don't know if that's a reason for serving on jury duty, but it saves you some money.
Well, Madam Mayor, I may just add something back there
Sure.
because Yeah, I just remember last time I was here, I reminded everybody to be careful with their pets because I think last time I said I saw coyotes in 2 weeks 3 times. Well, yesterday morning I saw 3 coyotes at one time. Broad daylight, I was, before I left for work, 7 o'clock in the morning, I saw one ran down and I thought, and then I saw another one and I thought, well, I was seeing double. No, I was seeing triple. There was a third one. It was only until the second coyote came by, then the cat. I was feeding my cat. Was all of a sudden saw it.
I was upset.
But it was just amazing. 3 came down, was in Tom's neighborhood. Right? So, I mean,
Yeah, I see one.
even if you think that we have a big dog, but there are 3
No.
of them.
I was gonna say, I see them on my street too.
And
Usually early in the morning, that's when I
Yes,
see them.
early and late
Mhm.
evening as well. So.
what is the recommendation if you see a coyote? Just walk away?
Get away
You're supposed to harass the coyote.
There's
That's
the
what they
haze,
recommend.
and Michael's been putting on and getting on our website too. There's a coyote management link on our website that tells you the things that you need to do and how to. It's happening in all foothill cities all throughout all throughout the San Gabriel Valley too. So there's some
Can you give us
guidelines.
a quick, what's the first thing you should do?
Michael should give me that quick.
I mean, I know if you see a bear, you make yourself big, right?
Real funny, Joe, you'll appreciate this. I saw a sheriff car actually chasing one. I mean, it was
Maybe it was
literally
Joe.
chasing it,
Maybe it was
and it went
Joe.
back into the, they just were chasing it on their car. I couldn't believe it. I go, oh, okay. One way
So
to get
Michael,
rid of it.
what can the public do if they see one?
The first thing that you should do is make sure that any pets, especially small pets or children, are very close to you and not away from you. We've had in the past few months, we've had at least 2 dogs and 1 cat in Temple City that have been taken by coyotes. So make sure that you keep your pets in a fenced yard. If you have them outside of a fence, make sure they're on a leash. And if they're small pets, don't even leave them unattended in a fenced yard because coyotes can hop a 6-foot fence if they want to. If you see a coyote, you should, aside from making sure that your pets and kids are near you, similar to when you see a bear, make a lot of noise, scream, yell. Don't start chasing it, but don't run away from it either. Make yourself big, and if there's anything around you can bang on, like a trash can or anything like that. If that doesn't work, the next step is to what they call haze the coyote, which is basically throwing things at it. If you can find a rock or a stick or a ball, and the intent is not to injure the coyote, but just to bother them enough to scare them away. And they say that you should continue doing that until the coyote leaves. So if it starts to back away, don't stop, because as soon as you stop, it'll probably come back. So continue making noise, throwing things at it, just generally making it uncomfortable and make it want to leave.
Thank you.
And also it's on our website, but there's a website now that actually the University of California is running, and it's called Coyote Cacher. It's a interesting name, but CACHER. But they're doing all kinds of research on urban coyotes, and they're encouraging people, and I know a number of our residents have done it. If you see a coyote, go onto this website and log in where you saw it and what time you saw it. You can also sign up on the website. You can put in your email address to receive alerts anytime a coyote is spotted in your neighborhood. It'll send you an email and let you know. So I would encourage any.
I think it's just to get your pets in and
yeah,
just to kind of know that they're coming.
It's just
You can't, there's been a lot of litigation in that.
Well, you can't
I mean, our
do
city of
anything.
Arcadia
Yeah.
is kind of answering kind of hard right now because they were trying to trap them. And
Yeah, the primary purpose for that website, aside from just general community awareness, is that they're doing research with the data. So they want to know where the coyotes are appearing and where packs might be living. We went to.
I can give them a good hint. The wash.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say, right
they
by-
use.
Right by me.
Yeah, exactly. They use the washes. That is their freeway. They use that to get from one part of the community to another. And we went to a coyote management workshop a few months ago, and they said on average, a territory for a pack of coyotes is generally 2 square miles. So they said divide your city by 2 square miles, and that'll tell you how many packs of coyotes you have. So we're 4 square miles. So roughly speaking, we probably have 2 packs of coyotes living in our
How big
city.
is a pack?
They vary in size, sometimes as little as 3 or 4, sometimes as many as 8 or 10. And then there's also,
Different sizes too. You see some that are small.
Yeah.
Some that are as big as.
The 3 that I
Yeah.
saw were at least it's like a big, pretty big.
and then there's
bigger
also
than
individual, coyotes that are not members of packs and just run on their own. So if you see multiple together, it's probably a pack, but if you also can see them alone, and they may or may not be in a pack. So, but the University of California they're just doing a lot of data gathering to try and learn more about coyotes. So hopefully, maybe we can better manage them in the
The
future.
sad thing about it is that it's probably our fault because we're now developing into what used to be their habitat in the foothills and everything else, which that's where they live. They have to go somewhere, and now they're coming down. I mean, too bad.
Thank you, Michael. That's
Thanks,
very
Michael.
helpful.
I'll log on that website.
Did council member you scream and holler?
I did.
Good.
Actually, I jumped out of my house and I was waving my cane because I hurt my ankle last week, so I have a cane, so I was waving my cane and kind of looked at me and then just slowly walked off. Wasn't scared.
2 of our residents who are always walking out, they now carry staffs with them, and they feel pretty safe with those. You know, shake it if they see something. And they usually go away.
Yeah.
Maybe we need some rain sticks.
Yeah. Carry one of those horns. So they're
Yeah, that might work.
So we move to item 16, reimbursement of expenses to city officials, and there is none. Additional public comments on items not listed on the agenda. I don't believe we have any. And we are going to close the meeting, adjourn the meeting in the memory of Tiffany Ching. So we are adjourned.